Welcome. Welcome, friends. I'm Lorraine McElrath. I coordinate the Community Knowledge Initiative, and the University of Sanctuary programme is a shared activity between the Community Knowledge Initiative and the Access Office. So I'm Access Centre, sorry. I'm here on behalf of myself and Imelda Byrne, Director of the Access Centre. So I have the lovely job of welcoming all of these wonderful friends here today and colleagues. In particular, I'd like to welcome Tiffy Allen. She's National Coordinator of the Places of Sanctuary, very important person here today because she has guided us through this designation process. So welcome, Tiffy. Welcome from County Wexford to County Galway. We're delighted to have you here. I'd also like to welcome the Mayor Cubbert, and I know you'll be talking about visions around maybe designating the city as a place of sanctuary in the future. I'd also like to welcome our both presidents, the president of our Students' Union, Claire, and our president of the university, and all of our friends here today, friends who work inside the university and friends who work beyond the university and in the community sector who've made this designation possible for us. And I got a lovely email this morning from our Students' Union President, Claire, who said to me, "Happy University of Sanctuary Designation Day, Lorraine." So I think the 21st of November every year should be the Happy University of Sanctuary Designation Day. The running order for today, my job to welcome everybody. Then Aidan is going to give us an overview as to what is the University of Sanctuary and why it is important at NUI Galway. Our Mayor Cubbert, is going to give an overview of his vision for the city and what this designation at the university means for the city. And then we'll move on to a lovely panel made up of students, heads of society, heads of different units here in the university, who are going to talk about their experience of accessing education and their work in terms of driving this University of Sanctuary designation and campaign over the last 2 to 3 years. And then the very last session will be the presentation of a certificate from our very good friend and colleague Tiffy Allen from the Places of Sanctuary, and she'll present that to the president of NUI Galway, and I'll make some closing comments. But since I'm on the stage, I thought I'd indulge myself with a bit of poetry. I hope you don't mind, but lately I was at the launch of Mary O'Malley's 9th book of poetry. Mary she's a Connemara local and native, and I just think she's a bit of a goddess and an oracle and all things wonderful. But she has a beautiful poem called Praise Song for Broken Things. And I guess when I think of broken things, I don't think of them being negative in any way. I think we're all broken in a way. We've all come through different consequences and challenges within our lives. And it's about the celebration of broken things and maybe creating systems, and supports for broken things where they can flourish. So Mary's poem is called Praise Song for Broken Things. It is time to praise what is broken, the cracked bowl painted with a fish in copper and clay, in one piece after 600 years of war and carelessness. Praise the countries that are torn north from south, east from west. Praise the houses that are ordinary, not well built. Many do not have them. This is your job, to praise the stricken, the refugee girls drowned like kittens, and we've all seen the pictures from bombed cities. Praise them. It is easy to love the rose, the whole man, the beautiful Maserati. Dreaming of druids and ruins has its compensations, surely. But take this world rotten and venomous, praise it because it's yours. And I think what we're doing here today in terms of celebrating this designation is praising recent challenges. Well, not too recent. I mean, we've had these challenges in Irish history as well over 175 years ago when we faced many issues related to famine and turmoil. And I think what students have done in this university is they've brought to our attention their concern about people who are fleeing areas of challenge and seeking refuge within the context of Ireland. And it was a student-led movement that has culminated in the designation of the University of Sanctuary. Aidan Hart and a few of his contemporaries about 3 years ago attended a national student movement meeting in Dublin as to what they might do around the refugee and asylum seeker crisis within the context of Ireland, and the barriers facing our newest communities in Ireland in terms of accessing higher education, because if you're an asylum seeker, you're not seen as being an Irish resident, and you're hit with the international fee in terms of accessing higher education. So I want to honour the students today, in particular Aidan Hart, for praising, creating that culture of praise for broken things and waking the university up and colleagues in terms of us mobilising around this hugely important issue, and creating a steering committee of 60 people. I've never been on a committee with 60 people in my life. It's just incredible. It keeps growing monthly. And I think that says something very loud and strong about the goodwill and the public good vision that we in NUI Galway have about higher education. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to hand over to Aidan Hart, who's going to give you a wonderful overview of the work that he has driven here at NUI Galway. Many thanks.
Thanks, Lorraine, and welcome everybody. So I'll just get started. So I'd just like to talk a bit about, first I'm going to talk about why we decided to respond to societal inequalities, and then we're going to give a brief history of the Places of Sanctuary network, what we do here at NUI Galway, and what it means for us to be a University of Sanctuary, and how the designation and its significance today. So there are over 65 million displaced people in the world, and figures, of course, are set to rise because of war, climate change, human rights violations, and many other reasons. There were 600,000 applications for international protection in Europe in 2018, and there are approximately 5,000 international protection applicants or asylum seekers in Ireland today, living in direct provision. And of course, Galway's population, as of the last census, is the most culturally diverse in Ireland, and we asked ourselves, are we doing enough to offer welcome and sanctuary? The direct provision system. So just for those of you who aren't familiar with it, I'm just going to give a brief overview as well. It was a system set up in the year 2000, and since then it has remained largely unchanged. It is generally private enterprises commissioned by the government to offer food and shelter to those seeking international protection. International protection applicants or asylum seekers are often denied the right to work without restrictive permits, and adult males are housed in separate accommodation from females and families. And they live on a weekly allowance of €38 per week. The international protection applicants in direct provision actually spend an inordinate amount of time there, and time spent in direct provision is not considered normally resident in the state, and this has huge implications for those who would wish to access third-level education. And there have been calls for reform from NGOs, charities, national and local advocacy groups since its inception. To this date, it hasn't changed. The Irish traveller community. The nomadic indigenous Irish ethnic group, sorry, that's a mouthful, I apologise, split genetically from the Irish sedentary population in the 1600s. Currently, there are approximately 31,000 travellers living in Ireland, which is 0.7% of the population. The ethnicity status of Irish travellers was finally recognised in 2017, with just over 73% aged 34 or younger, and only 7.5% over the age of 54. It's a very young demographics of a very low life expectancy. And only 13% complete secondary education, with just over 100 having a third-level qualification. This, of course, can correlate towards 80% unemployment, and we ask again, is this fair? Undocumented migrants face high levels of uncertainty in daily lives. They're excluded from accessing education. They experience exploited labour market conditions. And I was drawn attention to a recent report with Gort is My Home, which is a very interesting report for people in Gort, located here in Galway County. And I believe, and so does our steering committee, and others in the university believe that access to education is a fundamental human right, and it is arguably our university's moral and ethical responsibility to ensure equitable access for all. The history of the Places of Sanctuary Network. I won't go into too much detail, but as Tiffy may expand a bit more at our panel discussion, but I'll just give a brief overview. It is a registered charity which provides places of sanctuary for international protection applicants and refugees. It was first conceived of in the UK in 2005. And the first city of sanctuary was Sheffield in 2007, which spread through England, Scotland, Northern Ireland. through towns, villages, cities, educative institutions became places of sanctuary. And it first came to the Irish Republic in 2015. Since then, there are currently 5 universities and 1 institute of technology designated as sanctuaries, and they are UL, University of Limerick, Dublin City University, University College Dublin, University College Cork, and now NUI Galway. And AIT is the Technological Institute of Sanctuary as well. NUI Galway is distinct in the sense that we have included Irish travellers in our remit, responding to the 2016 census figures showing that there's a high population of Irish travellers in the catchment area of NUI Galway. Oh, and just a visual representation of all of, at a recent conference, we have all of those little post-it notes are where places of sanctuary are currently being organised on the island of Ireland. So that's as graphic as we can get on that one. And now at NUI Galway, who we are. So as was said by Lorraine, we are a student-led cross-faculty collaborative group of 50 plus members and about 10 active, 10 to 15, 20 active. They comprise university management, staff and students, local NGOs, advocacy groups, traveller movements and direct provision residents and residence committees from the direct provision centres. We were founded in September 2017 and were co-facilitated, as again Lorraine had said, by the Community Knowledge Initiative here at NUI Galway and also the Access Centre. And we were officially launched in February 2018. Within the university structure ourselves, we're under the governance of the EDI governance structure, the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Campus Committee. You can see we've added ourselves just situated in there in a little bubble. And our steering committee structure, so we are steered by the monthly steering committee meetings chaired by the coordinator, and subcommittees meet as required. I won't go into too much detail about the subcommittees, but we have 4 of them currently, and the subcommittees report then at monthly meetings. Our aims, of course, are to increase public awareness about international protection and Irish traveller topics around campus and in the broader community, promote nurturing an inclusive atmosphere amongst staff, students and guests of the university, promoting and creating a platform to celebrate diversity across campus and in the surrounding communities, and also developing scholarship programs to sustain equitable access to third level education. Oh, and we also go in the remit of learn, embed, share. So we create an atmosphere of learning, which embed within our societies and university community through our steering committee and our activities with our community partners. And then we share through social media and also events like this so that we can share our message of sanctuary to all. As this is it, our launch day in February 2018. That's our steering committee and a few guest speakers who attended on that day. And I'll just give an overview then of some highlights from our activities to date. So we successfully advocated for the expansion of pre-existing NUI Galway Inclusive Centenaries and Admission Office scholarship programs, and funded by the Galway University Foundation. We currently have 6 undergraduate and 3 postgraduate scholarships with a peer and academic mentoring elements to those. There's EDICC funded, which is Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Campus Committee, funded events to highlight ongoing research at NUI Galway. We had an event at Culture Night 2018, we did an Access to Nursing event, Barriers to Diversity in Education, and also a promotional video which you will see in a while. All funded by the EDICC or partially funded. We had 80 participants attended introductory bespoke English language courses on campus in the summer of 2018 and 2019, and also a very successful Sanctuary Politics course which was run in June of this year in the ILAS building, the Institute for Life Course and Society in the Northern Campus, which was an introductory course on Irish culture, political structures, media representation of minorities and active campaigning. And we have collaborated with Forza Trade Union here in Galway to provide for the provision of 2 IELTS course placements, which is a standard English language certificate one is required to have before entering a third level education if you're from a country where English is not the first language. So future plans and what the designation means for us as a university. We'll continue to contribute to NUI Galway's strategic plan 2020 to 2025 of open, respectful and distinctive. We'll collaborate with the EDICC, Students' Union and Society's Office to promote an ethos of sanctuary across campus. We'll expand our School of Sanctuary initiative, which currently has 4 ongoing schools in the city who are hoping to become designated schools of sanctuary to broaden that message, of course, of sanctuary into the community and to the future generations. And also we continue to advocate for the removal of barriers to education for Irish travellers, asylum seekers, refugees and other vulnerable migrant groups. And of course, we wish to expand the ethos of Sanctuary to the Galway City in promoting Galway City as a community of sanctuary in 2020 to coincide with our designation as European Capital of Culture. And at that, of course, I would like to welcome the Mayor, Mike Hubbard, to say a few words, please. Yep.
Thank you, Aidan. President Students' Union, ladies and gents, first off, I'm delighted as Mayor of Galway City to join you this morning in what's a very special day, the NUIG mark becoming a University of Sanctuary. Galway City, as many of you might know, our population of about 80,000 people, 24% of those people were born outside of Ireland, which I believe shows that Galway is one of the most diverse and welcoming cities in the world. And I'm very proud as Mayor to say that. And I'd say to all those who have come to Galway and those who are thinking to come to Galway, céad míle fáilte to Galway City. I must commend the people involved for their hard work over the last 2 years to ensure this accolade has come about. For example, the launch of the Schools Sanctuary Programme, where up to now 4 schools have registered as schools of sanctuary. It's very important to spread that message to our young people and again to build on that. I also commend your proactive approach by ensuring this is not just a title, and I welcome the fact that you've joined the Galway City Community Network, which again will spread the message right through community groups throughout the city and county. I also wish you the very best of luck as finalists in the Galway Chamber of Commerce Corporate Social Responsibility Awards, which take place on the 29th of November. And I wish you the very best of luck in that. All going well. You're celebrating once again. I believe the work of the steering committee has just begun, and again, I know there's plans to expand in the schools, and I'm fully aware as well of the supports that you're getting from the schools in Galway City, and I commend them for that as well. And again, that gets the message into our students, both primary and secondary level. And again, I agree with your calls as well to make sure there's more quality and more access available within a third level education. I believe in a time when language and actions taken by those of us in public life are extremely important, it's also important that you're advocating for diversity and equality in the labour force. And we as public representatives must stand shoulder with you in support of that. Again, language is very important, how we use it as public reps. And again, I support all your efforts to date on that front. The message should be loud and clear. Those who have been discriminated in the past, such as asylum seekers, members of the travelling community, refugees and other vulnerable groups, deserve the same opportunities in life, deserve the same respect as the next person, and deserve equality. Therefore, I fully endorse a campaign that Galway should be a city of sanctuary in 2020. My own children attend a school in Galway City where there are 42 nationalities represented. The children speak 38 languages in the school. To me, that encapsulates that Galway is the céad míle fáilte. We welcome one and all to Galway City and Galway County. As somebody reared on the west side of the city and now living in Ballyban, I've lived beside, worked with, played sports with members of the travelling community right throughout the city. There's no reason that they should have a less chance in life than me or anybody else. Equality is crucial, and campaigns should never stop. Therefore, I would say, let's not have politicians working for you, but let's work with you. Let's now move this to the next level and make sure Galway is the city of sanctuary for 2020. Gur míle maith go léir.
So what I'd like to do at the start maybe is if each of you could tell us who you are and what organisation you're with. And I'm looking at Tiffy.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Tiffy Allen, and I am from County Wexford, Gorey in County Wexford, the sunny southeast. So I tried to bring a bit of sunshine with me yesterday, but I didn't quite manage it. You know, it must have got lost on the train. Anyway, so I have the privilege of coordinating the sanctuary work across the island of Ireland.
Hi, my name is Nora Mongan. I'm a traveller woman who works for Galway Traveller Movement as a community development worker.
Hello, everyone. My name is Obadiah Niyibizi. I am currently in the Direct Provision Center here in Galway, and I'm a first-year science student. I'm a recipient of the University of Sanctuary Scholarship. I'm the prep coordinator for the Soul Explorers this year. Thank you.
Obadiah, I think that deserves a round of applause.
Hi, I'm Anne Scott and I'm based here in NUI Galway. I'm Jason Sherlock, and I'm the chairperson of the Minker Wooden Society. It's the Irish Traveller Society.
I'm Christian Ara. I'm auditor of Falch Refugee Society.
Hello everyone, my name is Claire Ostick and I'm the president of NUI Galway Students' Union.
Malta Byrne Access Centre, NUI Galway.
And Aidan Hart, coordinator of the University of Sanctuary Initiative.
Fantastic. Tiffy, we might start off with you. And maybe very briefly, you might give us a history, very brief history. We know you've written a book on this topic, but if you could give us a brief history of the Places of Sanctuary Initiative and maybe how it came to Ireland.
Okay, wow, brief. The idea behind the City of Sanctuary movement, which is the overall title for all the groups across the UK and Ireland, the basic idea is very... Do you want me to stay sitting down or will I stand up?
Whichever you're more comfortable
I can't eye contact everyone sitting down. There you go. Ah, Jackie. Great. So the basic idea is that people are coming to these islands, to Europe. People are coming who need safety. They're coming because they are not safe in their own places. They're coming to our places. And the sad reality is that when people arrive, they sometimes don't feel safe in our cities and our towns and our nations. And that's a real pity, because we probably all know the difference between going somewhere where you're strange, where you're unknown, where you haven't been before, and being made to feel welcome or being shunned by the population. So based around that, a few people got together, and as Aidan said, it began in Sheffield, which is an industrial city in the north of England, and people said, what can we do to change the culture? Instead of having a culture of fear, polarization and hostility, why don't we try to create a culture of welcome and inclusion? A culture that celebrates new people coming in because we value them and we know they've got something to contribute to our society. So that is the basic idea behind it, in a nutshell, it's creating places of welcome. And out of that, I believe we now have around 120 cities and towns and counties, and we've a valley somewhere, I believe, and something like that, but mainly across the UK and Ireland. And within that network, we have a variety of streams. So we have everything from Sports Club of Sanctuary to theatres of Sanctuary to health centres of Sanctuary, and so on and so forth. Read the book. But probably our most established and arguably one of our most important streams is in education. Schools of Sanctuary, universities of Sanctuary, colleges of Sanctuary. These are the places that make all the difference. So many refugees will tell you, I didn't feel safe, I didn't feel welcomed, I didn't feel I knew my place until I went to my first English class. And then, my teacher made me feel welcome. These places of education make all the difference. And that's why it's so brilliant that here in Galway, it's the University of Sanctuary, the schools of Sanctuary are coming up, and you're saying, come on, let's do it for the whole city. Of course you want to do it for the whole city.
Lovely, Tiffy. We'll come back to you again. Imelda, I might ask you a little bit about the Schools of Sanctuary initiative. I know that yourself and Owen Ward have been rolling this out in new 4 schools. Could you give us a little update in terms of what's happening with schools?
Yes, Lorraine, I suppose as part of the Access programme for the last 2 decades, we have been delivering some work in primary schools and secondary schools in the city and in the wider region, mainly in Jesh schools. And as part of the overall University of Sanctuary, we decided to develop it a bit better this year in terms of schools of Sanctuary. And as Aidan has pointed out earlier, the ethos of the University of Sanctuary in terms of learn, embed and share is the model that's now been used in terms of the schools of Sanctuary, where we've linked with 2 Jesh primary schools in the city and 2 Jesh second level schools. In the main, the students that progress from the students progress from the primary school into the second level school as well, and hopefully then onto university or into any other form of higher education. So to date, the learn bit, I suppose, and the embed bit, and the learn and the sharing bit has been progressing. The students have had a visit onto campus. They've got some training from one of my colleagues here, Joseph, in terms of diversity. And also, we've also talked around the pathways into higher education. I think key to the delivery of that model is the fact that the coordinator of the Schools of Sanctuary, Owen himself, is a member of the travelling community. And that in itself, we don't have to say or do anything. The fact, and this was referred to earlier, I think, by the Minister and other people in terms of having role models. And also we have, again, through Joseph's work here, a lot of our mentors that are working on the programme have come through the Access Initiative and are now undergraduates here. So the whole life cycle from primary to into university, into the workplace, I think is reflected at the start in terms of Schools of Sanctuary.
Lovely, Imelda. Jason, I might come on to you next. And I know you're looking forward to a political career at some stage. So this might be your first public platform. But maybe as a member of the travelling community in Ireland, can you tell us a little bit about your journey into education and coming through primary and post-primary and now being a second-year student here?
Yes, I suppose during my time in secondary school, I just thought I wanted to bring my education further because my grandmother can't read or write, and my father, he only did his junior cert, so I just thought I wanted to do my leaving cert at least, and then maybe bring it further into university. But during my leaving cert, I just felt like I didn't really have the support at home, and I didn't get enough points. But then was mic on. Yeah, but then I came across the Access program, so I applied for it and I got in. And and then when I came into first year, I remember like my grandmother's in a nursing home at the moment, and like I just remember when I went in to visit her, there was actually a picture of me on the wall when I graduated with my diploma, and like I can just see that meant a lot to her because I'm her only grandson that's in university, and like it's obviously a big change because she couldn't read or write, so I know that kind of gave me the confidence to go forward, and I'm trying to do a master's at least anyways. I'm in second year at the moment, like doing arts.
Well done, Jason. Fantastic. And I know you have a gift for two of our very distinguished members of the audience. Would you like to give that to them now? And maybe tell us what this gift is.
Yeah, so I just want to give Mike and Kieran, I want to give them a Traveller Ethnicity pin. It's when when travellers were first recognised in 2017 by Enda Kenny. So I just wanted to give that to them.
Lovely, and I'm sure they'll wear it proudly. Thank you. Maybe just to change track slightly, and I might address this to Claire and to Christian. There's been an emergent populist discourse, particularly in the west of Ireland, discourse that we're not particularly pleased about from some political representatives around our newest communities. And I'm just wondering, as students, what can we do to kick back against more racially orientated, racist orientated language and ideology?
Yeah, I can. I think one of the most important things is just education and educating people about like the actual realities of life for asylum seekers and refugees in Ireland, and the reasons why people actually have to leave home and come to Ireland, because they don't just come for no reason. Like my own parents came in '92 from Albania, and the '90s in Albania wasn't really the best time. So for them, they came before direct provision. It was easier for them. But now, people are being stuck in limbo for years at a time, and because they're being stuck in direct provision centres, just kind of segregating them as in that's them. So when people aren't educated enough, I find, about the realities of the reasons why people have to leave, and then the struggles they have when they're actually here, it causes a lot of anti-immigrant sentiment then to build up. So I think education is one of the most important parts of it. Something we've kind of been trying to do this semester, to have talks, explain what direct provision is, just explain that to people, because I know a lot of people in first year, especially, don't really know what direct provision is and don't know anything about it. Just kind of something they've heard about in the news. So yeah, I do think education is probably the most important part of it. I know that next semester we plan to try and go to some of the schools around Galway and hit like junior cert and leaving cert and explain it to them, so that way, like, the younger you are and you find out about it, the more you feel inclined to help.
Maybe there's a way for the Fáilte Refugee Society and the Schools of Sanctuary to come together around those activities. Sorry, Claire.
Just on that, I would like to reiterate everything that Christian said. It's important to run awareness campaigns, educate the student body, so we would have done that. We would have informed students what direct provision is, how they can get involved with the University of Sanctuary Committee, and the initiative that the University of Sanctuary is trying to achieve. So also, if you see anything unfair going on, it's important to call it out. You know, for bad things to happen, good people do nothing. And I think that's really important, and particularly with this movement and the University of Sanctuary Day designation celebration, it really shows that being different and diverse and having individuality is a strength, and it shouldn't be seen as being a weakness, and difference can bring so many great things to the campus, to the world. So two important things is run awareness campaigns, bust those stereotypes that exist out there, but also empower people to step up, to call people out if they're saying something that isn't accepted.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree with everything that you've both said. You know, I live in rural Ireland, in County Wexford. We have not had a population of refugees and asylum seekers for very, very long. It's really new. But there are some wonderful things going on, because I think as people get to know the people coming in, as people get to hear the truth, just like you were saying, then there are all kinds of ways people are getting connected. But have you read about what's going on in County Wexford in your papers? Have you seen it on the news? No, you haven't. So those of us who are, I believe, the overwhelming majority, who believe that it's right and good to welcome refugees and that refugees have a huge amount to contribute to society, we need to stand up. We need to be counted. We need to get out there. We need to not be shy, you know, because there's an awful lot of positive things to be told. So let's get out there and tell the story.
Obadiah, we might come to you next, and we know you for a good few years now, and we're so thrilled that you're studying first year science. But can you tell us a little bit about your experience, and maybe your experience with the University of Sanctuary Steering Committee, and what that means to you and other people in your community?
All right, thank you very much. Like she said, my name is Obadiah, and I'm first year science. I first came here in Ireland 2017, and when I arrived in the direct provision, I met a man who told me the only way that you can enjoy the direct provision is for you to contribute something to the community through volunteer work, or to contribute something to your future through education. And I took those words close to my heart, and I've been living by those words throughout my life here in Ireland. And when I came to Galway, I was fortunate enough to meet a lot of people who wanted the best for me, and who wanted to help me, and who saw that I had a future only if I received opportunities that were being offered in the community. I met Aidan when I went out to Connemara, where there was a campaign where walk the talk, and we are climbing the Diamond Hill. That's when I had the opportunity to meet Aidan, and he told me all the good things about the University of Sanctuary. By then I was sitting for my living set, and I was planning to sit for biology, but where I was going to school, they did not offer biology. So I had to sit on my own and study biology on my own. Then Aidan came to me and said, I can help you with that. The University of Sanctuary can help you with that. And that's how he found a tutor who helped me throughout my preparation for biology in my living set. And I sat for it, and I'm glad that I passed it due to his help. When I finished my living set, I was faced with uncertainty, because where should I go now? The information which is available in the direct provision of where you should go after leaving state is very limited because as an asylum seeker, you're not given an opportunity to pursue further education because one, you do not qualify for European fees, two, you don't qualify for government assistance. And that was very tough for me. Then, due to my interaction with the University of Sanctuary, and by then I was invited to be part of the committee, I was made known of the Access course, which is offered by the Access Center. Thank you, Imelda. And, I did my Access course last year, and I went through it with me giving my time to the university and getting involved with the university groups. And a particular group that I was most involved in with was Cell Explorers, of which I did so many sessions. I went to schools. I got opportunity to give back to the community, the opportunity that was given to me. And that made me feel welcome in the university. And now I'm happy to tell you that I'm one of the recipients of the scholarship. And that has been tremendous for me, especially looking that 2 months ago, I was faced with a fee of 16,750 to pay because I was not yet 3 years in the country and I was not eligible for government assistance. So I would like to say thank you to the University of Sanctuary for everything that they are doing, for the initiative that they are putting in place for people like me to have an opportunity to advance in education and yeah, all that. Thank you very much.
Obadiah, you talk there like as if we've done all this for you, but I know that you had to get over 90% in all of your courses to get into science. You had to sit a very rigorous interview and be assessed for the scholarship. So you've worked so hard in terms of getting where you are, and we're so proud of you. Nora, a little bit about Galway Traveller Movement. Maybe everybody in the room isn't aware of the incredible work that you've been doing for decades. And maybe a little bit about yourself. And I know you've been studying also.
Yeah, I've graduated 2 weeks ago with a diploma in community development practice.
Fantastic.
So that has brought me, I left school at 15, so that has brought me to my new employers, Galway Traveller Movement, as a community development worker, which I feel, as we've said here in the panel, we need to let people know we are no different. We are who we are, and you know, there shouldn't be any diversity. That's and I can't get my head around it, but anyway, that's, I'm sure that's another query. But my history is, my name is Nora and I'm a traveller woman who lives in Galway. I'm delighted to be here today, and thanks very much. As a current mature student, I'm one of the students who completed the Sanctuary and Politics course in NUIG in June 2019. I recently completed a diploma in community development practice from the Centre of Adult Learning and Professional Development. I graduated 2 weeks ago with 23 other members of Traveller Community, which was an historical moment for us as a community to have achieved. Over 70 travellers attended the graduation, which was a great opportunity to celebrate this milestone event. It all started with a funding application to the Community Foundation based on the concept developed by Galway Traveller Movement with Community Action Network to develop a leadership programme for travellers in collaboration with NUI Galway. This opportunity led me on to now studying for a Bachelor's of Arts in Community Youth and Family Studies, which is 4 years, which I'm doing part-time along with 3 other members of my community. For myself personally, the fact that the course in community development practice was available to me as a mature student was a wonderful stepping stone and has led me onto the path to future study. The support we have had from the staff within NUIG as part of our coursework, and the support also from Community Action Network and Galway Traveller Movement was invaluable, and it is this positive support that has encouraged some of us to continue onwards on our academic journey. So personally, the whole idea of NUIG being a place of sanctuary is a very positive development and will encourage and support other people from disadvantaged backgrounds to take programmes here. I look forward to seeing more young and older travellers undertake courses in NUI Galway going forward. Thank you.
Well done, Nora. And congratulations, Nora. Well done on your graduation. I'm going to hand over to the floor in one moment, but I just want to ask our fearless leader, our Vice President for Equality, Diversity and Inclusion, who's been championing this cause at the top table of the university for the last couple of years. So, Anne, I'd just like to come to you and ask you what the University of Sanctuary designation means for the university.
I think the description as fearless leader has kind of stunned me. So, I guess the university leadership, the university management team, have been really committed to getting this off the ground. I think we've seen that by the president. One of the first things he did when he came into post was actually help launch the campaign. I think the student population, our student population, did exactly what a student population should do, particularly if they're working in a decent institution, which is give the energy, commitment and intellectual challenge to the more established of us in the centre. I didn't say the older of us, but certainly the more established of us in the university community. So the idea that the push and the energy to get this campaign and this initiative off the ground started here in the student societies, I think we should be really proud of. Because in my experience, what they lack in organisation, they certainly make up in terms of commitment, enthusiasm and energy. And I think that's exactly what we need to keep this initiative and this project going. So I think in terms of the university, it's, for me, a very clear, explicit signal that we are prepared to live our values, that we are prepared to put our money where our mouth is, and that we are prepared to recognise the enormous amount of voluntary effort, both from staff and students and colleagues in the community, that has got us to this point. And as a couple of people have already said, I think we need to recognise very clearly that this is the beginning. The work really starts now and really should engage the entire university community. But I think, at least from our perspective as a leadership team, etc., we will try to support all of these initiatives. And we just need to keep the dialogue going.
And I think you've made a fantastic and key point, actually. This is not the end, this is the start. So we might have attained the designation. The job on hand is to sustain that and to continue to drive momentum and energy. So I'd like to hand over to some people in the audience who might like to ask a question. Joseph, lovely.
Thank you very much. I'm Joseph Nyirenda, and I'm part of the Access Center. And really, I've been working with immigrants since 2005. And I remember helping one minor student actually trying to come to NUI Galway here. I tell you, it was hard work. And we managed to pull monies from different organizations for that student to manage to get through college. Now he works with Apple at the moment. But now we've come so far, and it's nice to see that students can get access to third-level education, especially those in direct provision. But the question I have, as Anne Scott has said there, you know, there is still a lot of work. Yesterday I was in Dublin at a certain meeting with the Path 3 that I'm coordinating here in Galway, and one of the colleges actually was present there, and they are designated University of Sanctuary. And one of their recipients, not one, 3 of their recipients, but one of them has just been moved from college by the department. Actually, they've moved him from where he stays, moving over to another direct provision center, which is hundreds of kilometers away. So what I'm looking at, and I was discussing with one of the coordinators there, that I think there is a lot of work that we need to do, and it is that high up, whereby Joseph cannot reach. But the president, you and Scott, the directors, can. There is need to reform the policy up there. The Higher Education Authority, the Department of Education, and the Department of Justice, they need to look at the policy. When it changes on the ground, it has to also reflect at the top there. So the coordinators of the University of Sanctuary talk to the Department of Justice, and they say nothing is going to happen to that student. So That student had to move and is missing classes at the moment. What I'm trying to say is it not the right time that we need to sit down at the top level and start engaging departments in terms of how we can move forward? Because colleges are realizing that there's an opportunity which need to be explored and provide that help to those who need it. But the policies and other departments actually are way, way behind. And the way how they are dealing with these issues actually are not even humane. So I would suggest that there should be a creation of a steering group which can talk with the different departments and then look at how policy can change with time. Thank you.
I'd just really like to thank you very much, Joseph, for raising that. I think it's absolutely vital. And, you know, as I go around the country talking about city of sanctuary, places of sanctuary, universities of sanctuary have kind of seeped into the psyche. An awful lot of people have heard of this. So you're in a position, I'm looking at Anne because it's absolutely brilliant what you said there, Anne. You know, you're in a position of having a really important voice. And I think the voice of the university, you know, giving space for the Josephs of this world to be able to speak this out, because it doesn't make sense. You know, that level of disruption just does not make sense. So I absolutely applaud that. And I've just been desperate for a pen to note these things down, but I hope somebody is noting things down. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, and that's something that the National Student Movement is working on, the Union of Students in Ireland. So places of sanctuary, colleges of sanctuary, universities of sanctuary are really great. However, they are not officially recognised by the government, by the Department of Equality and Immigration. So a really big piece that we all have to do is recognise the legal status of places of sanctuary, colleges of sanctuary and universities of sanctuary, because we would have seen that particularly in DCU, there were two students who were on the University of Sanctuary Scholarship but were issued with deportation orders. So one of them was in their second year of study, the other one was in their final year of study. So we have to get some kind of policy in place that deportation orders cannot be issued if someone is on a University of Sanctuary Scholarship, which means we need to get the Universities of Sanctuary officially recognised. Another key piece that you mentioned, that people who are in direct provision, who are on a scholarship, can still be displaced, can still be asked to move to a different city, which is not great, because then I have to commute and there's no other kind of systems in place to combat that. So all of us have to work really closely together, particularly with the university management, and hopefully have some kind of stance when a deportation does arise, that we can be reactive and so that we can be proactive rather than reactive, but also get it recognised nationally at a government level. So that's something that we definitely have to work towards.
Just on that, recently we have myself and a colleague in the Irish Centre for Human Rights, and also with the Welfare Vice President in the Students' Union. We're working on a draft as a policy document around that we would call on the government not to remove students who are in NUI Galway either through deportation orders or relocation, because already a graduate from the Access programme has been relocated to Cork earlier on this year from Galway, which immediately means that the links with Galway are removed, you know, so we understand that, and we are currently working on a policy paper around that, or position paper. It's just we didn't get it done in time for today, but we are working on it. It is something we are doing. So it isn't something we've overlooked, but definitely we're hoping as a university we will have a position on that. But
and I think those of us who work in NUI Galway, we've seen a lovely collaboration emerge from the president of the university and the president of the Students' Union, in terms of doing good things together, and perhaps together and with your counterparts, there might be a way to lobby with the USI, Irish Universities Association, Higher Education Authority, for a policy change also in terms of access to higher education. Any other questions from the floor? Oh yes, sorry.
Hello, I just want to ask directly about education. For example, if I hold a master degree in fine arts, and if I want to continue my study looking for doctoral stage or PhD, so would it be considered my previous study, and can I apply from my master degree for PhD study? And would it be possibility for access to the library to read and helping in reading for the thesis or proposal, and if there's any kind of access to view lectures just to fit in the environment and this kind. I'm just asking about what can you have provide support for people asking for a study.
Thanks for your question. Just in relation to access to postgraduate studies under the University of Sanctuary Scholarship Scheme, we have also offered 3 scholarships this year, and 2 of them were taken up. So again, we would hope, along with the support of the management team of the university and the Galway University Foundation, we continue to offer the type of funding, and you can apply for that funding. We had a student a number of years ago who, again, we do an awful lot of outreach work in the direct provision centres, and I would have met people, and Joseph continues to do that. And somebody who went on to do a PhD here who was funded, I put him in touch with his supervisor here. So I think it's important just to make that individual contact with the Access Centre or with the University of Sanctuary Committee, and we will do our best to support you. Also a part of the broader committee, we work closely with the library here as well, and we have been working with them in terms of ensuring that people have access to all our facilities, not just the library, but also we're in talks with the Director of Sport as well around that. As Tiffy mentioned earlier, you know, Sanctuary is through theatre or through arts or through sport. You know, so we are continuing to do that, and I'm happy to talk to you after this meeting as well if you want to have another chat around that. Okay, thank you.
And maybe one final question, Chris. Yes.
Hello. Yeah. Hi there, Chris Noon. I'm a lecturer in psychology. So my question is for Nora and Obadiah and Jason and Christian. And we're celebrating where we've gotten to today, but I want to know if resources weren't an issue, what would you like us as a university to be doing for your communities? You know, in 10 years' time, what do we need to be driving towards?
Thank you very much for your question. And what can the university do for people? Okay, I'm kind of representing people in direct provision, and the question should, what can the university do for the people in direct provision? I think it can be more of motivation, more information, and more opportunity for every person there in the direct provision. I remember when I was first starting out looking for education, I went to this interview and I was sent back home and I was told to go back and do an asylum seeker course like Barbing or English, despite me having a living cert which proved that I can speak English. So what I'm trying to get to is, as a university, you can show or you can come and promote and show that there is more opportunities for people in my situation to advance in education, despite being in direct provision, despite being in a place where it is hard to access education, and through more, I can say, more scholarships and more opportunities for people to advance. I was one of the lucky people to have received a scholarship, but there are several other more people in direct provision who did not have this opportunity, who their all hopes were for them to get a scholarship, but unfortunately they did not receive, and they're seated at home and they don't know what to do next. So like she said, the work has just begun, and we're hoping in future, in the next 10 years' time, there'll be more opportunities, more scholarships, or more opportunities in the sense that they drop asylum seekers non-European fees so that they can have a chance, even though they don't get a scholarship. Thank you.
Hi. I feel that cultural differences needs to start at a very young age as in educating people, basically, that it shouldn't matter who or what we are, who we are. It's what we are and what we can achieve in life. But even, I think it needs to start, as you said. And is it the mindset of certain people in our society, or do they need to be changed in their idea of who a traveller is, who an asylum seeker is, or a refugee? It shouldn't make any difference. Ireland is meant to be a charitable country. So we need to make it a charitable country and accept people into our society for who they are, not what they are. And I just like to see that in 10 years' time. It wouldn't be 10, it'll be 5. Thank you. Thank you.
Jason, are you going to say a few words for us?
Yeah, I just kind of agree with what Nora was saying. I think if we can promote awareness as well, just even about the schools of sanctuary, and I think it's also important to note, like, it's not just for young people; it's for like older people as well. They can always come back through education. Like that's kind of
Well done, Jason. In 10 years' time, you'll be Dr. Jason Sherlock.
Yeah, hopefully.
You'll be lecturing, and you'll be running for political office as well.
Maybe.
And with the help of God, I'll be your campaign manager. Now I know.
Just to pick up the point in terms of the need to engage at a political level or at a national level on this, I think that's a point well made, but I think we also should recognise there is work happening. We just need to do a lot more work. Our registrar and deputy president, he certainly was here all morning. I'm not sure if he's gone by now, but I think one of the things that has happened among the IU registrars, for example, is with the IUA Council, i.e. the presidents of the IUA, they have now agreed as a sector, i.e. the university sector, that, for example, international fees will be removed for students who have come through the Irish system. So that is a big step forward. Now, we recognise that there's many other steps forward that need to happen, but I think a lot of this happens by working together and by the entire community. So the University of Sanctuary, the community of Sanctuary here in Galway, working together to push the pressure up to where the decisions are getting made. So I think that's a very important point, and we need to all take responsibility to make sure that happens.
Lovely, Anne. Thank you so much. Can I take this opportunity to thank the panel? I think we could have talked on for another hour. I know that you're not disappearing anywhere soon, so maybe over tea and coffee at the end, people can have chats with you. Sorry, Joseph? Of course.
Thank you very much. It's just that we have opened up the opportunities of the marginalized. You know, what else so? You know, I think that's where maybe your question is coming in. You know, if you look at Galway, the representation of diversity, you know, how does it reflect in terms of going forward? How is it reflected, you know, employment-wise? If Obadiah gets his bachelor's, you know, where is he going to end up? You know, if Jason gets his bachelor's, as a traveler, he sends his CVs, you know, where is he going to go from here? That is where we have to be looking at as a city to show that, you know, we accept diversity, not just in one entity, but everywhere. Because people like them, they are role models. They need to grow up and be in that classroom and teach the students from their community. They need to be at the social welfare office there to serve their own, and they can see my person from my community can do this work. They need to be in Boston Scientific and be a manager and manage some other people, you know, and someone who is coming through will see that theirs are also doing that. So we still have that responsibility, not just opening up to education, but we need to open up employment. The college itself can do more to work with employers and say, you know what, provide us with a quota whereby immigrants from immigrants as well as travelers can go into those jobs. And if we do that, diversity is going to be reflected in all entities of our society. So the way forward, actually, as you asked, that is where I would be looking at, to see someone in a place where they are not seen. Not that we just give them the papers and they end up just driving a taxi around. I don't think that is... Absolutely, absolutely. So that is what we need to be looking at, the diversity there. Thank you very much.
And Joseph, you're sitting beside Farai, who graduated from NUI Galway on Monday with a Master's in International Accountancy and Finance, Analytics. And I know that you have been working tirelessly to gain employment now post the Master's. You're ACCA qualified accountant, and I think we definitely need deeper levels of partnership and commitment from the Chamber of Commerce, Galway City Council, Galway County Council, and developing pathways, because we need to find routes into employment, and as you say, Joseph, allowing our newest communities to flourish and thrive as leaders of different organisations, and to show that it's possible to others that with education you can progress in Irish society. So thank you so much for that very well made point, and congratulations to Farai. We're so happy for you.
Yeah. Thank you again, Joseph. I'd like to respond to that as well, that one of our subcommittees is actually the Corporate and Community Sector Links Subcommittee, so that's one that we will hoping to be rolling out a Business of Sanctuary Chamber of Commerce Award. So we're in communication now with the Chamber of Commerce, and we'll try, hopefully using our shortlisting as a corporate social responsibility employer, that we might be able to roll that out with colleagues again like that. So I'm just hoping that, yes, we are looking into that, but again, it's a kind of an organic movement. So we need to sort of first establish ourselves as a University of Sanctuary and then move that beyond the as you said yourself, Kieran, the gates of the university and into the broader community. There are no gates, figuratively and literally, in the university.
Fantastic. So now we come to the next stage of the programme, where our lovely guest, Tiffy Allen, is going to present the President of NUI Galway.
Just before that, if you don't mind, sorry, I would just like to bring up one thing, if you don't mind. Sorry, I recently, as you may have noticed on one of our slides, we'll also included undocumented in our remit as the University of Sanctuary, and I recently received a letter from a student in Gort, who had recently done their Leaving Cert. So if you don't mind, I'd like to read it aloud, because I feel that undocumented hasn't been mentioned to date. So just briefly, if you don't mind. To whom it may concern, and I've received permission to read this out, by the way. So, to whom it may concern, the coordinator of the Gort Resource Centre in Gort advised me to write a letter asking to have a meeting with you. I'm 19 years old, and I've just completed my Leaving Cert this year, and I really look forward to pursuing my education. However, when I arrived to Ireland in 2011, aged 11, to join my mum, who arrived 8 months prior, I had no spoken or written English. Like many immigrant parents, my mother was unaware of the fact that I had to seek regularisation once I reached the age of 16. As an undocumented single mother living here, she naturally feared the authorities, so my mum never came forward looking for a way to regulate our situation, or ever asked for help of any kind. This had left me at the age of 19 beginning the process of regularisation and working to support my mum, who is, at the moment, struggling financially. At school, I did not know there was any opportunity for people like me to try and progress my education. Having just become aware of the Sanctuary programme, it gives me a lot of hope for the future, and I would be so grateful if you'd agree to meet with me to discuss my situation and your programme, and I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, so that was from somebody in Gort, and as part of our scholarship programme, we included people in irregular situations who had engaged in the path of regularisation as well. So just to know that those pathways are there, and at university level, of course, we would like to broaden our scholarship, but also at national level, we'd still like to remove those barriers through as Anne said, the Irish University Association, and of course our partnerships with other universities who have become universities of sanctuary. So we've one voice together to advocate for those barriers to be removed. Okay, so I just thought I'd like to say that.
And now we'll come on to the formal part of, so Tiffy Allen is going to formally present the President of NUI Galway with the University of Sanctuary designation.
The President of the University, Kieran, would just like to say a few words, if you don't mind, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabina Mahagav, and I'm delighted that we turned around, because this is for all of us. And Tiffy was mentioning that we have 5 signed copies The purpose being that we will put them throughout the university, because I think it's a day for celebration today, but also, as Joseph and others have said, a day of challenge, in that we need to be reminded every day that we are a University of Sanctuary. And I mentioned at the staff meeting yesterday that this has been a very important 10 days for me, because we started with graduation of the Centre for Adult Learning and Professional Development about 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, and the Access programme. And the Centre for Adult Learning and Professional Development is 50 years this year, celebrating its anniversary. Access is celebrating 20 years, and in many ways we stand on the shoulders of others, and I know Imelda's leading Access right now, so on behalf of the university I'd like to congratulate but also thank our colleagues in both of those areas, and I know Imelda's representing the Access programme here today, because in many ways we're standing on the shoulders of others. Throughout graduation I was also met by students who had benefited before the University of Sanctuary was designated, and colleagues like Ciara Smith, Niamh Riley, Pat Morgan and others were pioneers in this case in finding scholarships when the programme didn't even exist. And again, I think we owe a debt of gratitude. Very often we say that there are good times to plant a tree 20 years ago and now, and in many ways we planted a tree for Access 20 years ago and we're planting another now, and hopefully in 20 years time we'll see the fruits of our efforts. We also had John Ging, as you may know, as an honorary degree awardee. John works with the UN Refugees Agency in particular, and John gave a passionate and angry, in many ways, speech after his award about the work that needs to be done internationally in the context of refugees in particular, and the work that can be done. I think part of what John said in particular was that there is hope. In other words, there are things that can be done. But what I was struck by afterwards, thinking again of what has gone before, is that John was greeted by refugees from Palestine and Lebanon and embraced and hugged by them, because they recognised him from the work he had done in their own communities 18, 20 years ago, and they're now here. And I think again that sets the path, and we know that this work matters. We also recognised Orla Gearan, who works, as we know, in many of the danger zones in the world, and with many reporting and witnessing for many people who are in danger and not safe. Currently she's working on the Turkish-Syrian border, and she also gave an impassioned speech after her graduation. And in particular, I was struck by the words she said, which many have said before, that not calling people refugees or people who are coming on boats, but simply people. And I think that's a really important part of what we recognise today, that we are a community of people, and ultimately we are on a journey through life together, and part of that journey is supporting others who need support when they are here. I'd particularly also like to thank CKI, Lorraine McElrath in particular, for the work that Lorraine does, and our colleagues there. Again, very much a long number of years of work in connecting us to our various communities as a university, to the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Campus Committee and the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Committee itself. This is important work, and the university is the better for it. I'll say a few words on that later. And finally, a thank you. It was mentioned that when I came, one of the first things I came here first, I remember launching the University of Sanctuary campaign. And to me, that was something I thought when I came first it was already here, because I knew all the good work that was going on in Galway. But I asked for the membership of the committee this morning so I could name the committee, but there are 60 people. And they should all be named. You know who you are. And thank you, Aidan, and to all the committee for the work you do, for the panel members here, because it is really important work. And it's been a very profound 2 weeks for me. I mentioned again at the start meeting yesterday the Van Morrison song, I wish it was like this all the time. We started with graduation for adult learning and professional development, the Access programme being recognised. We had 6,000 or so students graduating, every one of whose story matters to us. Many of whom represent, not enough, but many of whom represent the diversity of this university. And then this morning, again marking the kind of character of this university, we had the launch of the annual report of the Equality and Diversity and Inclusion activity in this university. I had to, apologies, skip out briefly because I went up then to ILAS to launch a conference on palliative care for children. Again, people in this university who make a difference for people who are vulnerable, very profound difference at a particularly profound time in their lives. And again, NUI Galway being pioneers. We started back in 2007 on that work. And then coming back here to what is a fantastic collection of people, fantastic community who represent all that is good in NUI Galway. And I mentioned this morning that when we launched and thought about our strategy, there are a number of things that are manifest here. One is the values of this university, values of respect, openness, excellence, high standards and sustainability. And all of the values are represented here. Respect being the most important, the greatest of these. Openness, I mentioned this morning at the launch of the report. This university has no gates. We cannot close when darkness comes. And when darkness comes, we will not close. And there is sometimes darkness in the narrative currently. And we take the stand now that we will not close. We will open. We will open our gates and we will open our minds in that context. And there is excellence here, high standards, really good work being done. And there is sustainability. We often think of sustainability in the context of environment and climate. But sustainability also means talent and opportunity, and diversity means that we welcome diversity here, not because it is a duty, partly because it is a responsibility, but most of all because it matters and it makes a difference and it makes this university a better place as a consequence. We also mentioned throughout graduation the reason for being here. And again, I mentioned this morning when at my first staff meeting, people may not remember, but I do, I talked about the best book I've ever read on strategy is one by Simon Sinek, which is Start With Why. And I think today we are again celebrating what we started before. We're celebrating why we are here. And at NUI Galway, the first sentence of our strategy currently is that NUI Galway is for the public good. And in that first paragraph, that NUI Galway serves our students and society. And again, this is manifest here. And I thank you all for it. It is particularly important work. We are an important institution in Galway, so we're challenged, as Chris has said, to be ourselves diverse. We are challenged, as Joseph has said, to be beacons, a city on the hill for diversity. This is work as yet unfinished. It is work but it is important work in this community and the various communities that we serve. And finally, I mentioned at the palliative care event this morning, the video, I'm reminded very often, starting again, coming back to events like this, why I came back to Galway and why it's really important to be here. And when the first day I was here, I made a video for staff again, colleagues, and for the student community. And again, people may or may not remember. And I said various things in the video, but one word came back to me, which I think captured the imagination, and that word was kindness. And today we are here celebrating kindness. And kindness comes from individuals like you, and kindness through you as individuals becomes the institution as well. And I'd particularly like to thank you all for the work you do every day in making that kindness real for others, because that's what matters for us as an institution. And I'd finish with two poems, or two remarks from poetry. One I mentioned yesterday at the Occad that we had our final graduation, and I talked in the context, and we're thinking of hopefully making a statement around this over the next few days if we can. Around this time of year, there's a tradition in Ireland of lighting candles, and we light candles in the window for those who are away and those who are coming, those who are arriving. And there's a fantastic poem by Martin O'Deron, "The Quinn Lair Lassa in Ulan Hir and Ucht." And we hope that in this institution, that as sometimes darkness comes, we'll also have Quinn Lair Lassa candles lighting, because when darkness comes, we need more light. And I'll finish with a similar seasonal poem by Louis MacNeice, the Ulster poet. The poem is called Snow, and if you don't mind, I'll read it because I didn't learn it off per se, but I'll just read it and finish with a few marks afterwards. This is Snow by Louis MacNeice. The room was suddenly rich, and the great bay window was spawning snow and pink roses against it, soundlessly collateral and incompatible. World is suddener than we fancy it. World is crazier and more of it than we think, incorrigibly plural. I peel and portion a tangerine and spit the pips and feel the drunkenness of things being various. And the fire flames with bubbling sound for world is more spiteful and gay than one supposes. On the tongue, on the eyes, on the ears, in the palms of one's hands, there is more than glass between the snow and the huge roses. And I think that sense of things being various, that this is something we should celebrate, is what we have today. It is work started many years ago in adult learning, in access, continuing today with our designation of University of Sanctuary, but starting again. And we hope to celebrate of things being various. Gurmeen Maghav, thank you.